we should all look out for. And for the stampede that happened on New Year's Eve at Freedom City, President Museveni ordered for a speedy investigation. But each of the lives of the families was given 5 million shillings as condolences from government. And that's there. Then government, through the permanent secretary, Minister of Works, Bagay Waiswa, rolls out, announced the plan to roll out the controversial digital surveillance of the number plates starting March. This was awarded to a Russian company. MS Joint Stock and Global Security was contracted to be able to provide this. So starting March, those that own cars, motorbikes, and all automobiles, be sure that you will be required to get this digital number plate. Now, the NUP also registered some victory in Wafula Kongoha, who won the Guild presidential race in Chambogo University, becoming the 19th Guild president. And then the Deputy Speaker in Parliament instituted the Select Committee of Parliament to consider the motion for a resolution of Parliament to censure State Minister of Housing Persis Namganza. That one we are looking for it very closely, and we want to see how far Parliament can go in censuring the minister, but it will not be the first time Parliament is censuring a minister. Remember back then in the 90s where Sam Kahamba Kutesa and Jim Muhwezi were censured by Parliament. Now, there have been pictures of chits, call it handwritten letters from General Salim Saleh, famously, but also known as Kalebak and Wanaho, to the Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago. He's attending those letters to withdraw his support from the Elias Lukwago unless he apologizes for some of the utterances that he has made. It has created some kind of debate on social media, and we can count this authentic of the good general that he authored these letters. Now, on the international scene, if you're Catholic, and majorly the Catholic community globally, Pope Benedict XVI died at the age of 95 and was buried at the Vatican just about yesterday, a day before. And we stand in with the Vatican and all the people that believe in the Catholic Church. Now, the topic of discussion this morning is the opposition promised to work together in the 2023 as they gear up for the 2026 election. Now, you know very well it's not the first time the opposition has come out to say we are going to work together. Now, we want to understand how far will they go ahead to implement these thoughts and plans and strategy to make sure that they get into government and let the NRM be of the past. To help me discuss this and much more is Mr. Peter Mpaka. He belongs to the National Unity Platform. He has been here before. Bright Muhumu is a coordinator, National Unity Platform here in Bara. Bandizi Asimwe, member of the National Resistance Movement, regular here in the Big Set. Sifa Safi, panelist of the Big Set. And we have a guest and a political analyst, Mr. Bruce Owankunda. I'm very delighted to host all of you. Let me give you an opportunity to say hello and say good morning to the listener before we go into it. Peter Mpaka, good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Yeah, thank you, West J, and good morning to you and our dear listeners. And also, thank you for bringing us on this platform to discuss issues of national importance. I also want to thank the management of Crooze FM for always allowing us to come in and teach the nation.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Brad, good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Good morning, Mr. Wanyaji. I also want to greet the listeners and also congratulate the Crooze team for this initiative. I see myself on the TV. I don't know whether it is on other platforms, but I think it is there on YouTube and other things.
Okay.
So you can tune in and see us live on YouTube,
welcome.
Crooze TV.
Welcome, Bright Muhumu. Sifa Safi, good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Good morning, Wanyaji, and a happy new year. Happy new year to everyone in studio, and happy new year to esteemed listeners. Heri ya mwaka mpya, and tunawatakia mwaka wa maheri, and mwaka musha muhiri kwa Banyarwanda n'Abanyarwandakazi mwese. Happy new year indeed.
All right. Simo Wanjisi, good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Good morning, Wanyaji. Let me take this opportunity because it's the first time this year that I'm appearing to wish everyone that is tuned, listening, watching us a happy, prosperous 2023. And to also caution them, Banyaji, the road carnages are becoming a problem. Bottom line, it's also our responsibility as citizens to be careful when we are using those roads, either on borders, pedestrians, motorists. And we feel sorry for the families that have lost their loved ones during the festive season. And I also want to thank His Excellency for having come out to give that condolence message to all the families that lost their dear ones. And my prayer is, Banyaji, I just wish that everyone that was supposed to guarantee the safety of the people should be held responsible and accountable. Even some of the security agencies that could have maybe slept on the job, because I can see the blame is square being put on the promoter and the events MC. Good morning,
What
our
about
dear
the parents
listeners.
that went with the
Let
kids?
me end with the guest. Good morning, Mr. Crooze FM, and welcome to the Big City for the very first time.
Good morning, Westgate, and good morning to the listeners out there.
Okay.
A pleasure is mine to be here. This is my maiden appearance. It has been long overdue. And I take this opportunity to wish all our listeners a happy new year.
All right. We're stopping for very short messages. When we come back into the topic of discussion, good morning.
Abanyabulenje Rwizooba ni mwebale kukola omwaka 2022 ekitumire olulembo mbalala lwabe ekyokuleeberaho abantu ku Ensonda zoona babasise kukolera emirimu yaabo hano hatabireho kweraliikirira okukozesa obwoko bw'esente zoona banywani baabwe omu by'okuhanisa empiiha Muna Forex Bureau mbalala ne bakwendeza Christmas ennungi n'omwaka ogw'iholeere.
Need such a voice. Will it be your child? The public speaking program for children is back in Barara, a chance for your 6 to 12-year-old to be nurtured as a 21st century communicator, a collaborative learner, creative thinker, and a leader. Book now for Jan 16th to 28th at Kabaterini Kindergarten. To sign your child today, reach us on
Creative Digital Media, creating with you.
On Twitter, 91.2 CROOZE FM on Facebook and Instagram, and we are streaming live on Crooze TV or Creatives Media. You can be able to go right there and catch us straight. The visuals are there, and the topic of discussion is already on our social media platforms. You will be able to, drop us a line if at all you want to contribute to what we're talking about this morning. But later on in the show, I'll give you an opportunity to join the conversation on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. To help me discuss this topic this morning is Mr. Wanjisi Asimwe. He belongs to the National Resistance Movement. Mr. Bright Mhumuza, member of the National Unity Platform. Mr. Peter Mpaka, he belongs to the National Unity Platform. Sifa Safi panelists in the big sets. And we have a guest, Mr. Bruce Owankunda. And the main topic this morning is the developments that we saw later on in the year, as we were concluding last year, and the start of this year, where Dr. Crooze FM and Robert Kyagulanyi allies Bobby Wine, along with their respective political groupings, announcing that they will seek to join hands and combine efforts, representing the kind of opposition unity of purpose to make a difference in the grand scheme of things. So we want to understand how sustainable is this? It's not the first time that we're hearing players within the opposition coming together to, to make sure they perhaps synchronize their efforts to make a better opposition and battle the big land before them in the national resistance movement to win the elections. We're drawing closer to 2026. Let's get to engage on this. Let me start with Bright Muhumuza. Since you coordinate activities of the NUP here in Barra, it's not the first time that we are seeing players, especially in the different political affiliations, saying we are going to work together this time around. Our problems have been on disunity, this now barred, and all the small skirmishes that have been within the different political parties will not work out good for us. We are going to work together, and with a united force, we can be able to defeat President Museveni at the ballot. Should Ugandans believe it this time round?
Yes, Ugandans should believe, Mr. Banyaji and listeners, you will all have to agree with me that political alliances work. United forces of change, if given opportunity to exist, I can tell you we are going to see wonders. The history has it, Mr. Banyaji, it is not the first time Ugandans are benefiting from alliances. You remember in 1959 and 60, DP was able to be defeated because of that united forces of change between Kabaka and UPC. When they got united, they defeated DP in 1961 elections. You also know that Amin was able to be defeated simply because of the united forces of change that were between the Fronasa people and the government of Tanzania, together with the people that were supporting Obote, the UPC people who had been forced into exile. And Amin was defeated because of the united forces of change. In 1981, after elections, President Museveni decided to go to the bush. He went to the bush, he fought, he completely failed to achieve his goal until he united with Kaira. Kaira was another rebel. When President Museveni rebels united with the rebels that were commanded by Kaira, Ugandans saw the change they were waiting for. So it is evident that united forces of change can bring a change of government. Mr. Banyajan listeners, when Museveni captured power, he knew that he was politically very weak. As I told you, what did he do? He, again, under united forces of change, he invited all his former political enemies. He decided to work with them, the Temogereris, the Kabaka, the Nkanji, and others. Why? He knew that him as a person, even when he had captured power already, he could not sustain leadership because he knew politically he was weak, even when he was militarily strong. So he had to unite with other forces so that he takes over, he moves on well. You know that in 2006, United Forces of Change, people, all other forces of opposition, garnered or stood behind Dr. Besigye, and according to me, Besigye won that election of 2006. You know that President Museveni, therefore, knows that United Forces of Change can give him bloody nose. What is he going to do? He will not allow the United Forces of Change to exist, to remain together. He's going to use all the tear gases, he's going to use all the guns, or the what, to make sure the money to make sure that he destabilizes it. Because President Museveni and his government, they know that political alliances, in this case, the United Forces of Change, can give him blood and nose. He cannot allow, it is going to be his role, it is going to be his plan game, it is going to be his mission to disorganize us, to destabilize us, not allow us mobilize, not allow us work together. And you know, somebody was always saying that Dr. Besigye, how can Dr. Besigye allow to unite with Bobi Wine when he refused to unite with Zimbabwe at the time? If you internally analyze what was happening, the events then, you find that the state hand was there. So the state is also not sleeping. The state is working around the clock so that we don't unite as opposition. So it is our responsibility to tell the people that there is an enemy who doesn't want us to unite. There is an enemy who is ready to tarnish us, to make sure that they arrest us, they beat us, they kill us, so that we don't unite. Because they know the power in unity.
We have a representative of the enemy in studio.
Yes.
You'll be able to, dismantle some of what you say. Asim Evangelisi,
Yes.
we know very well how much you rate the united opposition. And it's not any time different this time that when you hear of Bobi Wine and Besigye and Shamuntu saying we are going to work together, so that we have a more solid force to counter President Museveni and the NRM. You have sleepless nights of the unity of the opposition, or you think, well, they can unite for whatever reason they can, but we shall nevertheless defeat them anyhow. Banjise.
Thank you so much, Wanyaji. And I thank my brother Bright Muhumza, because we have a very long history. Whatever he has said, partially it's true. But one interesting thing, it's not the first time this thing is happening. It didn't work in 2001 general elections, when reform agenda, when Besigye was at the peak of his political powers. They could not unite the Dr. Kawanga Semogwere of DP and the others to rally around Besigye. In 2006, they partially did it, but not all parties got on board. Some tactfully said no. Because when it comes to where it matters most, like fielding single opposition candidates in different constituencies, maybe at the president's level, they will never agree. Even in the just concluded general elections of 2021, tentatively, they had an MOU to be like, you know what? Each constituency, we identify who is the most powerful or the most popular opposition candidate. Then all of us, the opposition parties, rally behind him or her. They tried to implement it in a few constituencies. When they reached in some other constituencies, they could not agree. So, Banyaji and our dear listeners, this is not new. And it's not going to yield anything. It's like writing on top of water. Why am I saying this? Bottom line, even Bright knows this. What has killed our opposition? Most of them are compromised. That's why the reason as to why His Excellency will boldly say in Uganda we have no opposition. Because the key figures in opposition, they claim to be in opposition during the day, but at night they are in the State House receiving facilitations to do this and that. Politics, it's a game. Someone would ask why is government or the NRM facilitating some key opposition figures? It's simple. At times, democracy dictates, the majority carry the day. As we speak right now, are they having the majority of Ugandans? And if we are looking at their key leaders being compromised, Bright, if it didn't work in 2001, it didn't work in 2006, it didn't work in 2011, it didn't work in 2016. When actually, in 2016, it's the time when you almost united all the opposition. Because all other opposition parties rallied behind Amama Mbabazi. It was only FDC that at the last moment, tactfully, Dr. Chiza Besigye with his selfish interests, decided to pull out at the last minute. And this is something that had been brokered by even the Kofi Annan. And we know how powerful Kofi Annan is on the African continent.
Allow me to give you some information. The listeners have heard from you that it is your role as the government to finish opposition. You are using money, and you have admitted here on air that you take some opposition figures in the State House and give them money. That's the point I said, that the state is not sleeping on their work because they know the power of in alliances. If they were not worried of our political alliance, our united forces of change, they wouldn't be taking some of us, as you are claiming, to State House. Because you who stays in the State House now know that at night some people go to State House and pick money. Why? To dismantle the united forces of change. That is the point I raised. I am saying we are not united because the state is also not sleeping. As opposition, we need to do something different from how we have been doing it.
As I conclude, I'll give a very simple scenario of football. If you have two opposing teams and you know team A has a very good striker, what will I do? I will either sign him the way PSG Man City are doing it, or buy very good defenders so that I shut him out not to score against me.
So you are
so it's the same.
Or you do what
you admit
Real Madrid did
to have a better strategy.
Yeah,
you
kill Mo Salah to neutralize them. So the same applies.
Is that the tool that you're deploying?
No, listen, even in America or even the world's developed democracies, and this raises a question of integrity. This means in opposition we have self-seekers.
Oh, okay, thank you. Let me get to Bruce here. Bruce, it's been really known that the problem of the opposition is not necessarily whether they have a very strong opponent in the NRM and President Museveni in general, but internally, how they're able to conduct business, how they're able to, go against themselves and, some, what they've called molds, some, double standards, green snakes and green grass. Do you think this is a bigger challenge to the opposition than even the NRM itself? Bruce.
Thank you, Wesley. When we talk about opposition unity and unity in itself, let's first give it context. What does unity mean? We mean consensus. We mean compromise. We mean coalescing around common grounds. We mean striking the delicate balance between individual or party rights, particular party rights and interests. If you are new, you must be willing to compromise so as to work with FDC, to work with the JEMA, to work with DP. We must appreciate history. This is not the first time that the opposition has come out and made efforts as a collaborative means to take power. It dates up to pre-independence and post-independence. In 1996, I think, there was the IPFC, Inter-Party Forces Coalition, by Semogerere. It didn't work. In 2011, there was the IPC, the Inter-Party Coalition, that had 5 parties, UPC, DP, FDC, and JEMA. It didn't work. In 2016, we had the Democratic Alliance. It didn't work.
But Bright, I'm sorry to come in, but Honorable Bright here has given you alliances that have worked. Why are you neglecting them?
I'm coming to that. So you can see this.
Please, can we give him the attention that he deserves?
Yes, you can see this. Most of these alliances and these documents that have been signed have failed immediately, or some have limped, and then eventually collapsed. And you see why I think this opposition unity this time is not going to work. Even just before these 2021 elections, there was unity in diversity, if you remember. They made press conferences, signed pacts and documents, but it didn't work. At the end of the day, they even failed to zero down on what? On one winning candidate. And what is undermining this unity, and which will continue to undermine it, is because these Brights and Packers have not sat on a round table and reached a consensus, and they say what is failing this unity. The same factors that have been undermining them, these coalitions and unity.
But Bruce, how easy would it be for the NUP to simply turn down their interests of having the flag bearer majorly for the opposition and the FDC? Because if at all the FDC is saying we want Dr. Kizza Besigye on the ballot, and then UP is saying we want the person that we believe in on the ballot, how can they have a balancing act where they choose one person? Isn't it possible that these political parties work very hard before the culmination of who should be on the ballot? At least there is a lot of groundwork that can be done by all these parties, very united, before they even reach the peak of choosing which to be on the ballot or not.
You see, that's where the contradiction is. If you, as opposition, you're saying we want to unite for a common goal, then you must compromise. There are coalitions that have worked before. There was NACI in Kenya with Raila Odinga, and even those ones that Bright was talking about. It is give and take. And most of these times you see these people talking about unity. It is very apparent that the messaging is different from the actions. They are not committed. It is just mere grand posturing around. They come, make press conferences, make heavy documents, which they have not even read and internalized very well. And if they don't address those contradictions within themselves, even these parties, and it is a bigger problem, by the way, with our multipartism. These parties in themselves, be it FDC, be it Loop, even in the NRM.
But how come President Museveni found it very easy to have the DP incorporated literally to the NRM, and they're in cahoots now, and
that's the same.
That alliance is perfect and everything is working great, with one now in the East African Legislative Assembly and another serving as the Constitutional Affairs Minister?
You see, it's the same point. They are not committed. You can imagine a whole party president, Norbert Mao. We considered him as a seasoned and tested politician who has been all around, going around preaching unity, preaching opposition, preaching the devils of the ruling government. Is the same person that is now serving as the Minister of Justice with the Museveni government. These are the brights whom are.
But is that for starters? We know very well. We had Maria Mutagamba, who was literally a DP leader, crossed to the NRM, became a minister of water or something. Kahamba Kutesa himself, he was never of the National Resistance Movement. We had Jacob Lokorio Lanya, who was a member, stalwart of the UPC, and quite a number of figures that have come from all different political parties to serve under the NRM. So why would we, crucify Norbert Mao in this day and age to do exactly what his predecessors have done and even much more?
Yes, even Kaunga Semogere did it, by the way. But that's the major point. You're not getting me. Commitment to the struggle. For example, Besigye has stood the test of time. I know there have been efforts to compromise him. There have been efforts to blackmail him. But he has stood the test of time. He has remained committed to his goal. He has refused all these offers. He has been tortured. He has been taken to courts of law and prosecuted for some of the cases that court has never pronounced on themselves. But he has remained committed. Others are just posturing around, but they are not committed to this unity they are talking about. Another thing before I finish.
Yes.
What is killing this unity is the inflated egos of these leaders and some of these political figures and actors. If this is Bobby Wine, him and his group, and these parties are built around demigods. They have cards.
He's good Robert Center.
Yes, still Bobby
His
Wine.
Excellency.
Yes. Okay.
He died in Marseille anyway. He still does. Yes, Crooze, conclude on that man. Yes.
So they revolve around those demigods. So those inflated egos, nobody is willing to trim their wings and say, let Bobby Wine compromise for Kyagulanyi and his people. You remember what happened in TDA?
But
a section of FDC people came, stormed the venue where the meeting was, and they took Besigye out with brute force. They almost took him in air outside the venue and said you cannot work with Mbabazi. So if the opposition does not sit on the table and they come to a meeting point of their minds and say this is what has been undermining this unity, I see it is the same old story, more of the same as Mbabazi would say.
Okay, let me bring in at least someone who is very guilty of the same. You belong to the National Unity Platform, and we know for a fact, I read a tweet that was written by the very celebrated journalist in Bashir Azubwe. he promised people that he would do a very good job in Parliament, elected on the NUP ticket. And he said the reason why he left NUP is because it's made of gangs. Already, there are, how do they call it? There are groups, you know, that have been made up within the NUP. And you find there is a group of the Segonas, the Nambos, Chivumbi, there is that group. And you have a group of Zake, Lois, and Bobby Wine, and the young people. So, if at all there is already this unity within the party, where there is a category of groupings within there, how is it possible that you will achieve the bigger good, even when you cannot have it internally? How is that possible?
Thank you, West J, and thank you, my dear panelists that I'm with that have already made some submissions. I think we are getting real brilliant ideas here. One, I would want to say that whenever you see, should I say, friction, it means that there is work. If people are idle and nothing is being done, you won't see any friction. So to answer the question on those internal, frictions happening, I would really say that it is an indicator that NUP is alive, and there is work that is being done. There is a movement towards a certain direction. And I would want to expound that, even to come to the larger topic that we are discussing about the unity or the united forces of change. First, I would want to say that for me, I'm happy, and it is a step in the right direction. So for these leaders to come together, even though when you look at that convoy they made, and when they were going to Zambia for the prayers, for us, the NUP team were raising the fist, just like you've asked the question. And then the FDC team was flashing the V sign. So you see that, yes, they are together, but there are certain things that internally they haven't kind of come to agree on. Because if we are making a procession or going for prayers, ideally maybe we should have said signs off, maybe party belongings off, we are all one team. But you would see Chaguranyi raising the fist, you'd see...
But there is beauty in diversity. Why would you want to downplay the beauty that comes in diversity?
That is the question you've just asked me, that we have loyalists, the Lewis, the Joel Senyonyi's group, and then you have the other big guys, the Segonas, the Mpugas, also. So you see that, for me, I'm saying that if there is work being done, you expect some of these things to happen. So for me, what am I happy about, or what do I want to see these opposition parties doing? Me, I want us to come to a point, like the brother here was submitting, where we compromise for the big picture, where we not only come out once in a while, but we come out and make joint statements, even on issues of social service delivery. When government imposes, for example, I would use this example, a fake lockdown on the people of Mubende and Kasanda.
How could you call that a fake lockdown?
Yes.
When there was a pandemic roaming all over the place.
We know how Ebola spreads, and we know how COVID spreads.
So what was so special about Mubende that government would be very interested in keeping
we are going to go into a diversion. But if I can say something, why we instituted a lockdown during coronavirus was that this is an airborne disease. So and secondly, it spreads asymptomatically. I can have, and I don't have symptoms, and I'm spreading it. When it comes to Ebola, Ebola spreads by contact. And by the time anyone spreads, by the time I give you Ebola, I will be showing signs and symptoms. So there wasn't any reason why government should have instituted a lockdown when it can be seen that this person, I just need to avoid touching you. So what I'm saying is, we need to see these opposition leaders and these opposition parties coming out on real issues of national importance. For me, it's a step forward. It's a very good step, because it indicates that we are now getting out of our comfortable zones. We are getting out of our complacency. we are now becoming more radical. We are now becoming more serious about the need for change. But when we just do a one show like this man has been saying, Bruce, by the way, I've liked his points, that we just come and make a grand posturing, we just come out and make a noise, and then it ends there, and then you have letters flying that some of us are moles, some of us, I really think that we will not be delivering the change that we need in this country.
Okay, let me get to Sifa Safi. Sifa, yes, there is no way that a political party that is in government would simply give up power to an opponent. So you expect that you would resist and make it very impossible for your counterparts to get in government. But we are saying at what cost? We've seen how you've been able to brutalize the opposition, beat them, incarcerate them, and make it impossible for them to even mobilize. Now that they are planning to get more united and deal with more internal contradictions, how do you think government, that you know very well that has been in power for the last 37 years, is going to look on as Muntu, Bobby Wine, and Besigye say, we are going to work together like never before, making it very hard for you that even when you create that kind of coercion towards them, they will be more solid and deal with you in a way that they can. Sifa.
Thank you, Banyaji. I thank my fellow panelists for their submissions. You said it was, it's a necessary evil by either way. It's a necessary task, coalitions and whatever, but very difficult at the same time, especially in Uganda. Because like someone said, ego status and all that. As we speak right now, when these people sit among themselves, they start rating themselves in terms of size, in terms of popularity, in terms of, what the level of chaos that you have caused in this country and all that. So for me, it is still a long way for them to go, much as we would like to have it, Banyaji, because it makes politics a little bit, lively and entertaining for some of us. But as we speak right now, I've said this before and I want to repeat it, that if you ask me, we don't have opposition in this country. And I think Bani has talked about it. Because when you talk to some of these people in
how is it possible that we have no opposition when you have a whole
you cannot say how is it possible, yet you know it's possible and it has happened. So for me, Banyaji, when you talk to some of these people, because we have friends, we have very close friends in some of these opposition political parties like Nope. There is a friend of mine, but I won't mention the name because he's one of the top leaders in this country. He said that you see the problem, people don't understand one thing. We've been in the NRM for quite a long time and we are nobodies. No one knows you, you're nowhere, you don't have a title, you don't have nothing. And then someone tells you, am I playing politics or I'm just escorting those people who are playing politics? So these people are right and I'm really concur with them because Banyaji, it is easy for one to penetrate when you come through the lines of opposition in this country. But when you saw that you're behind NRM, like majority of the people are saying, you're nowhere, you're there, they take you for granted. And so these people are right. But in reality, there is no opposition. Like Bani said when you're talking to these people...
I want to remind you the words of General Mhozi Kainerugaba,
yes,
who has also disputed the existence of the National Resistance Movement and called it whatever name that he could. Meaning, it's literally the same for both sides of the divide, whether the opposition or the National Resistance Movement. There are people within the NRM that think the party doesn't exist and power only runs around one person, is General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and without him, the NRM literally does not exist. And so does the opposition and all these other different figures of Bobby Wine and Besigye and Muntu and whatever you could call it. So do you think that now we accept that it's just individual merit and these colors just give us the glamour that comes with the politics?
So first of all, the earlier my people understand General MK, the better. I told you that you might be focusing on what he says when actually it is a strategy, and I said it works for him. A diversion of sorts. So you might be hearing him saying it is one party, it is rotating around one person, when actually that really creates, brings more people, more supporters to NRM. So for me, I don't take that serious and I don't give it much attention. But what I was saying is,
from where?
When you talk about coalitions in Uganda, like my friends have said, it's not the first time it's happening. So what makes you think that this time around it's going to work? Because when you look at some of these people, yes, the major intention, the agenda is fighting the common enemy, and in this case it is Yoweri Museveni. But they forget about other things that touch Ugandans directly. and especially Ugandans at the grassroots. When you talk of removing Museveni, yes, someone is going to tell you removing Museveni, but what special things are you going to do as a party when you come into power, for example, coalitions? And when you look at these top figures, Mugisha Muntu, the general, the man I respect so much, Dr. Besigye and Kyagulanyi, they are totally different people. Because one of them, for example, believes in defiance and all that, fighting and being rude and all that. But when you look at General Muntu, he has been a gentleman right from day one.
But what has that gentility helped? He
That's what
literally
I'm
has
talking
no member
about.
of
You cannot
parliament.
tell me that they're going
He has no leader at whatever level. Where does the gentility take us?
When you talk of not having a leader, Banyaji, someone is going to look at it from a different angle. What I was saying in this point was, these people are totally different. Their styles of work are very different. I gave you an example of Dr. Kizza Besigye. Be on the streets, then tear gas. I don't know if it is also stage managed and whatever. But when you look at General Muntu, he focuses on building the nation and citizens of Uganda and all that. So these are totally different and they're not going to work together. The song is going to be sung, I don't know until when. Common enemy, fight Museveni, but how? Like my friend said, you're fighting Museveni on the tag, on TVs and on radios, but when it comes to somewhere where there are no cameras, it is a different story. You're carrying bags of money and all that. So how are you going to fight Museveni?
But who is giving all this money? We perhaps
I don't care who is giving who money.
Because how about when we talk about the source of that money, and if at all it's taxpayers' money, then we need to audit.
By the way, you're talking of money,
where the
not just money.
appropriation
People
would
are
have been
driving around and they're driving cars given to them by top shots in this government. So when you talk of money, actually, it's not just money. I want to believe that
we're going to take a break. But when we come back, you know very well that one of the figures in the opposition, in Elias Lukwago, we now saw the cheats that the good general in Sare Musare wrote about the person even threatening to withdraw his support. So which kind of opposition are we dealing with? Where a vice president of a whole political party is literally getting support
and they carry from
from General Salom Saleh. But we're stopping for breather. When we come back, which I'll be getting more into the topic of discussion. But please don't forget to contribute on this topic on all our social media handles, 91.2 CROOZE on Twitter, 91.2 CROOZE on Facebook and Instagram, and we are Crooze TV for TikTok and YouTube. We are already streaming live on Crooze TV and on Creative Media. Go right there and then follow, and we'll be able to give you the best content that you need. We're stopping for a break. We'll be right back. Good morning.
The public speaking program for children is back in Mbarara, a chance for your 6 to 12-year-old to be nurtured as a 21st century communicator, a collaborative learner, creative thinker, and a leader. Book now for Jan 16th to 28th at Kabaterini Kindergarten. To sign your child today, reach us on
Creative Digital Media, creating with you.
abanyabulenje rw'iizooba nimwebale kukola omwaka 2022 ekitumire olurembo mbalala lwaba ekyokuleeberaho abantu ku lug'ensonda zoona babasize kukolera emirimu yaabo hano hatabireho okweraliikirira okukozesa obwoko bw'esente zoona banywanyi baabwe omu by'okuhaanisa empiiha muna forex bureau mbalala ne bakwendeza krismas ennungi n'omwaka ogw'ihorere.
The world will need such a voice. Will it be your child? The public speaking program for children is back in Mbarara, a chance for your 6 to 12-year-old to be nurtured as a 21st century communicator, a collaborative learner, creative thinker, and a leader. Book now for Jan 16th to 28th.
Back, it's a minute past 10 o'clock here on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 CROOZE FM. Great music, good friends. The big city zone. My name is Westige Banyaji. Catch us. We are online on www.cruisefm.com/ the stream, and on all our social media handles, 912 CROOZE FM on Twitter, 91.2 CROOZE FM on Facebook and Instagram. And we are Crooze TV for TikTok and YouTube. And we are on YouTube, so you can go right there. You'll be able to catch the visuals real good. Brought to you by Majorly Creative Media. With me in studio is Mr. Peter Mpaka. He belongs to the National Unity Platform. And our guest this morning is Mr. Bruce Wakunda, a political analyst. And we have Bright Muhomuza. He coordinates NOP activities here in Bara. Mr. Simu Evangelisi, he belongs to the National Resistance Movement, and a regular panelist here, Sifa Safi. On our Twitter handle, at cruisefm.com and at Banyaji, we've put a question on what you think about the visible unity within the opposition as the united forces of change signify for the new year, as we move closer to the 2026 election. The hustler is saying it's impossible when it comes to the time of elections because of their selfishness and personal aims. Unity just comes out on a simple and non-profitable game, but if they unite, they can have a nice opposition side ever. You're listening again from Kampala. I want to appreciate you so much. Robert Babiha on Twitter is saying, secondly, Dr. Vestige has millions of people on his back, especially the Western region, who believes he's say no matter what. So United Forces of Change is the only solution. Then I have Fred or United, who is listening again from Nyakajo. You're thanking us for the show, and we appreciate you so much for listening again. Or Rishva, Michelle, who is saying it is visible now that come 2025, we will be there every opposition party will want to be the driving seat with their candidates to decline the unity towards the general election. Well, in a nutshell, you're saying that they can be united for now, but as we come closer to 2026, they drop the guard. Now, to help me discuss this is already with us in studio, Bright Muhomuza, Bruce Wakunda, Peter Mpaka, Simu Evangelisi, and Sifa Safi. Before we went for a break, we're talking about this very topic and what we think about how far this unity can go. Let me go to Bright. Now we know that even when you're not a member of the Forum for Democratic Change, it has a vice president who is very famous for standing especially on issues of opposition, Elias Lukwago. And we saw General Saleh writing chits saying I'm going to withdraw my support. So we have a situation where a member of the NRM entirely supports the opposition. How did you first of all receive these chits? What did you think when you read them? How authentic do you think these are?
You know, me, Banyaji, I told you that I studied the history of the opposition politics in Uganda since 1959. I know what you now see is a repeat of what happened a long time ago. It happened 1964 when we lost a whole lead of opposition to government.
Basile
Bataringa, yeah, defected to government. But that did not stop DP from remaining on political scene. He defected and joined the government of UPC, and he was appointed the Minister for Internal Affairs. What we now see has been there before. But you see, as I told you, that President Museveni knows that in unity we can achieve. President Museveni knows that when we unite, we can give him a bloody nose. That's why he must come out of his closet and use all his possible tactics to bring us down. What you see in Lukwago Salim Saleh exchange is, I take it as the tool to intimidate, to suppress opposition. Because now, how come that when Lukwago started talking about corruption, inflated bills of roadworks in the KCCA, he started questioning how the contracts have been given at KCCA to companies that don't even qualify, to companies that belong to people from State House. Gambano, when he started raising issues around that program, it is when Salim Saleh and other people started saying, this one has been eating. First of all, that shortage of this one has been eating has been their mission. I am not saying that people don't eat. They eat. But you see, you cannot say that when a few people eat. Yes, it is like corruption in the NRM. We know that this government, many people in the government eat a lot of money meant to give services to us, the citizens. But it is true also that in NRM the people are not corrupt. It is also true. So you cannot dismiss the entire opposition because of 2 or 3 incidents. Mr. Banyaji, you cannot say that the people sleep at State House eating money, some others drive government vehicles given them by government. Then at the end of the day, you say that there is no opposition. If there is no opposition, why would the government give us cars? Why would the government give us money?
To act like
That's a good point.
Yes, you cannot say listen.
Yes.
You cannot say that there is no opposition. At the same time, you say that government is giving money to the opposition people. That's a contradiction. So the truth of the matter is, the opposition is there. There is evidence that is an opposition. You see, we don't just be on radio and start talking as if we are not. In 2001, Dr. Messenger contested and gained 18%. Now, since then, how has been the performance of opposition in the general elections? Now let us speak with empirical evidence. The truth of the matter is the opposition has been increasing since 2001. Me as a leader, I may have challenges, a personal issue. As he could, Bani could be having his personal challenges, but we cannot say that the whole NRM in Mitoma where he wants to contest has issues. No, the issue could be on me. I conclude that by saying that if me as a leader in NUP has an issue, you cannot say that it is a strategy by NUP to have leaders who have issues. Those interpersonal challenges are there. People with challenges are in NUP. People in challenges are in FDC. People with challenges are in NRM and majorly in NRM. Yesterday you saw UPDF officers who went raided police station, got their colleagues from cells and took them to the barracks. And those guys had been arrested on charges of staging an illegal road block. But UPDF officers went. Can we now say that UPDF is a dead institution? It is a small group of individuals.
Oh, okay.
We cannot conclude basing on small incidents. Mr. Banyaji, you saying somebody said it is posturing, it is a grand launch, but we shall of course disappear in thin air. that time when we attempted to hold prayers, as I speak now, 27 people are in prison. 27 what? 7 of them were shot at, and they are in the hospital.
Let me put a question to Banjisi here.
I have the tear gas. Yes. People who tested the tear gas of the day
here.
Were over 100. How do you, so intimidation, money,
let me help you.
RSC, death, really work against us. It is not because.
Yes,
but
let me help you. Let me bring in Banjisi here. Banjisi, if at all you think the opposition does not exist, it's inconsequential. The kind of machinery you unleash on the opposition
why do you do
is literally what is meant to be deployed in Operation Shuja. So what is the problem? If at all these people are just busybodies,
of saying that opposition does not exist.
That's why you. Let's allow it.
Thank you, Banyaji. Just a quick one. On matters of health, whether in opposition or NRM, these diseases never segregate. So when it comes to the lockdowns in Kasand and Muvende, they were warranted because Ugandans we tend to misbehave. They never observed the SOPs that were being issued by the ministry.
I have Peter Parker.
Yeah, I know he's an authority on health issues, but the issue has to do with we citizens.
But answer the question now.
So quickly, as I move forward, Banyaji, on the question you raised, what is politics? Politics is the art and science of managing society. So our opposition here.
But you say it doesn't exist.
Listen!
You're saying
you say it does not exist.
Don't say our opposition. You are saying that opposition doesn't exist in Uganda.
It's as good as non-existent.
Why?
Because
let's allow him.
Bruce. It's an opposition that is stage managed by the ruling party. So it's as good as non-existent. 2, Banyaji, we know at the party level, there are what we call party interests. But within the party, we know there are members that also have personal interests. So the challenge that the opposition has always had is very simple.
What?
When it reaches that critical point of sacrificing individual personal selfish interests in preference to the national party interests, they always tend to want to sacrifice the party interests to promote their individual selfish interests. That's the reason as to why Banyaji, come 2026, as earlier, my fellow panelist Bruce submitted, they will not even agree at the smallest unit of politics, the cell level. They will not agree to front a single candidate. So come 2026, the genesis of their disunity would be the fact they will not even agree on a single presidential candidate.
I agree with you, Mr.
If it's to work, first listen and I finish.
I agree.
Let him conclude.
Let me finish. I'm winding up.
Yes.
The reason as to why
he's telling many
the reason as to why some of these political alliances have worked, the way we saw the alliance between Kabaka Yeka and UPC, it's because they could go to a specific constituency and agree. This constituency, Banyaji, is most capable. Let him run, even we, the UPC people, rally behind him. Me, I'm just giving you simple common knowledge. If they were genuine and honest with Ugandans, by now they would come up with a clear roadmap and even start agreeing on which candidates they shall fill. But
why some of the unity does not only work on choosing who should be that. Let's afford that.
Just a second.
In the constituency where he comes from, the minister called Kahindo Tafire contested as an independent candidate against the official flag bearer of NRM, Kahindo Tafire, in your constituency.
And Kahinda Ross.
I am saying that he contested.
Yes.
We have very many independent candidates in NRM leaning who contested and won in your own party. We have ministers who contested as independent, won, and President Museveni went ahead and appointed them. We are only saying that what you refer to like as a problem to as being a problem in opposition, it happens even in NRM and it's common in the NRM, so it cannot be an issue. The truth of the matter is,
Bright, we've gotten your point.
No. Bright, unity is paramount, and we
I've gotten your point. Yes. No, please. Okay.
Wesije.
Yes.
I wanted to point this out, that the main point for the existence of the opposition is not that at the next election we should have one candidate.
No.
That's not the main. That's not why the opposition is in it. So it's really under the belt if my brother Asimwe is trying to project that because we disagree on having one presidential candidate, then it doesn't exist. I don't think that's not the main point. For me, my main point that I want us as opposition activists to be involved in and to put on is to put pressure on government, on service delivery, to be more radical when it comes to issues that are affecting our society. Me, I've put a question on the lockdown. That lockdown, if well analyzed, should have made even the Minister of Health to resign and get out of cabinet. Because it was something.
But the whole World Health Organization is applauding Uganda.
Where you have
and the Minister of
Me, I'm telling you, Ebola is not an airborne disease that requires keeping people in houses.
Okay.
Honestly, where you have people exhuming dead bodies.
Please.
Let me. You can put restrictions. You can put serious restrictions that you enforce.
But you know how we discipline
but not a lockdown. No. You can enforce. Why is it that they can unleash tear gas? They can bullet us, and they cannot handle such a case? I want to really say it that when you see, like, for example, how Parliament is behaving in such a crisis, in such a time when we have issues where we don't have a governor for a whole year, when we have an economy that is crumbling and Parliament
is meeting, the economy crumbling because we have no governor.
It is. It could be a contributing factor. I remember, was it 2008? There's a time when the governor, rest in peace, threatened to resign, and the dollar shot to 4,000 shillings.
That is true.
Yes, because of the governor. We could be going through this because we don't have a governor. And what is Parliament doing? They are meeting to share Shanamuganza and over issues of women and men. So for me, it is a loss. I feel it is a loss that my MPs, our opposition MPs, are just also in the same bracket.
Okay. Safer.
First of all, I'm surprised, Banyaji, that Peter is perturbed by the fact that the government came out with lockdowns and whatever to prevent further spread of the disease. Peter, you should be. I told
you that Ebola spreads by contact. That's one. Two, Ebola. By the time I give it to you, I am a clinical case. So it is easy to handle rather than an airborne transmission.
That's true. You are an authority on that. But then we don't have to tell lies and we agree because you are an authority on that. But what I wanted to comment about Banyaji is, someone was talking about the opposition, like we said there is no position. By that time, is in a punk. Izina tiyo kugambedi ni yomu. Basa kuwa bright someone muhomuza, when actually referred to Islam.
Yes.
So for me, because you're called opposition, does not mean that necessarily opposition exists. And let me give you
I
an
think that
example.
makes more sense.
Let me give you an example.
We can consent. We can have consent. I think the analogy.
No,
opposition.
That we are opposition. We have a leader. You are the one who said that.
Let's have order.
You're not us, man. It was special.
Let me continue my point.
Let's allow her finish. Let's allow her finish.
But now she's abusing us.
Let's have order.
You cannot give her an opportunity to keep dismissing us. We are
Statement is factual.
We are
Okay, can we have order?
Let me tell you.
Let's have order. Let's have some decorum.
Let me tell you,
Let's also
that we have
let's have some decorum.
Let me add some paint on my culture.
Yes.
There might be some opposition people who really are serious.
No, please, Peter Parker. Let's have decorum.
That they want to see President Museveni out of this government, but those people are silent and invisible. They're there. But these outspoken ones, the bright of Brighton, these ones are not opposition. I want to tell you my business.
No problem.
Let me give you another example.
It's time for a break. We'll be right back immediately, and we'll have Bruce Wakunda coming on. Good morning. Here on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 CROOZE FM, great music with friends. The voice on your radio is Wesley Gebanyaji. I have a very heated panel this morning. Bruce Owakunda, Bright Muhumuza, Peter Mpaka, Sifo Safi, Asim Evangelisi. On Facebook, Robert, Babi, how you saying? Second, oh well, I saw that message. Let me read to Derek Aine, who is saying, to my thinking, these key leaders of the opposition are on the right way because fighting together, cooperating, and bringing out different ideas will strengthen and work as a team to score and achieve the same goal. I would wish all the political opposition leaders to join hands to join the struggle to fight one thing, and you thank us very much. Arinda, Alan on Facebook, you're saying, good morning, the big set. For me, I think this is a good thing because there's a motto that divided we stand, united we stand, divided we fall. So far, I think it's a good idea. Though all of them, they want to become presidents. So there, I don't know how they will sit and agree on that. Ivan Palavov, you're listening in and you're saying it's a very nice idea, but the greatest challenge here is who will lead the alliance? You're listening again from Uganda. I want to appreciate you. Benny Cruz, you're saying you are united, we stand, divided we fall. I see much disappointment among the two acquiring victory. Please keep the conversation going on our social media handles. Now let me go to the lifeline of the show on 752-912-912-178-0912-910. The big set. Good morning. Ndiawo Chanel. Yes, akana ka Crooze. I think the message is very clear. You don't have to amplify it anymore. On 752-912-912-178-0912-910. The big set.
When somebody abuses us, you give them a time.
Yes, good morning. Yes, please. You're clear. Yes, Musingu is the song. Alright. The big set. Yes, good morning. I'm doing fantastic. Wait. Yes, please. You're called to say thank you. Now, let me go to Bruce here.
Before that, allow me to conclude.
In a second.
Yes. There is a country here in Africa, and to be specific in East Africa, our president gets 98% of the vote. And we cannot stop saying that there is opposition. People say there is opposition in that country, there is democracy and all that. But some people again say, even this so-called opposition is stage managed. So what I'm trying to say is, much as we are seeing of opposition in Uganda, it is not realistic. But let me also conclude on the issue of crime. You say that if opposition is not existent in the country or it's very weak, why does the government...
You don't interrogate
Why does the government...
Let me conclude. Right, excuse me.
We are not going to go into the whole...
I am here to represent opposition.
Right, you are allergic to...
When you say...
When you
say... No. When you say the opposition is not realistic, that's why your argument. That's why your argument.
Exactly doing that. No, let's have order. Bright, you've created a lot of noise.
But now somebody, I am here to defend opposition.
Okay.
I am here to defend opposition. That's why I'm in this studio.
Let's allow her conclude.
I don't know if you are allergic to facts or not.
Please conclude in a second.
But what I'm saying, you said that sometimes the government unleashes a lot of machinery and whatever on opposition. I want us to put a distinction between the opposition and crime. If there is breaking of the law, then they should unleash the whatever.
Okay.
And to me, it's not necessarily about opposition, but even anyone as long as they're breaking the law. For example, if they say that because we have Ebola in this country, Banyaji, we shouldn't have people gathered without clearance from police, then I mean, what do you expect?
Okay, thank you, Sifa. We've gotten your point, I think. Let me get to Bruce. Bruce, I don't know why. For some reason, you've not dug deep into the cheats of General Sade. But the point is, I watched an interview of a very landman that I respect so much, Augustine Rusengana, who said being in the opposition is a very difficult thing under the NRM dispensation.
Yes.
Because you even get fatigued. Some of these people, in fact, we should applaud Kanovesije the more, because being in the opposition for over 20 years is a very heavy load. Now you have a person like Nobo Nobat Mao, who's been in the opposition since the 90s, when, in fact, it's
From the
UID days of Makerere. Over 30 years of being in the opposition. Someone gets fatigued. Someone is 55 years. Uganda's life expectancy is about 65 now. Someone is left with about 10 years to be around. So why not join the establishment, plan for their retirement, and really have peace at the end of the day in their evenings of time? Why would someone keep on for so long, even when it's not beneficial ultimately? Bruce.
Thank you, Wesley. I entirely agree with you. The journey has been very long. It has consumed people's energy. Now imagine people who joined Reform Agenda. They had hopes. Besije says, Omusajja agenda kati. Tsunami is coming. At the end of the...
Me who comes from Masaka here, I was very lucky. He said tujja kumulabanga ayitawo. Lecture is a Bruce.
Bagamba entebe mu ntebe. Ajja kulayira omusajja n'alayira. Omusajja kati afuga. So it has consumed people's energies.
Please.
It has consumed their time. Some will give up along the way, but you give space. If now SJ feels that it has been weary and he has nothing to offer, you should leave the space for the young tax like Bobby Wine. But SJ, for me, the bottom line here is, and the take home about this unity, we can have a convergence of mind and agree that changes does not come naturally or accidental. It is got deliberately. It is fiercely pursued. What unites the opposition should be bigger than what divides them. In actual sense, they must sacrifice. They must compromise. That was my point from the beginning. And it is the same old story. The opposition is like the French Bourbons we studied in European history. They are said to have learned and forgot nothing. The same time, each time they come to work together, they forget to tighten the loose ends, and the past comes to haunt them. The same things that...
Can I ask you something? Just one.
Yes?
Could you tell me what you would have loved seeing Besije doing and is not doing? Because since 2001, you have been seeing him. What would you have wanted, you as a person, to see Besije do and is not doing?
I think he has got the question.
Yes. One, me, I would have loved Besije to... Even the unity we are talking about has largely failed him. I gave you an
saw what happened in the FDC with the exit of General
Yes. Even when they pulled him from TDA.
So you wanted him to do what as Besije?
To compromise and accept to work with the TDA. Other parties had agreed. Why him walk out? What were the differences that they couldn't be ironed out? And they have one candidate. That inflated ego I talked about is what has failed all these figures, not just Besije.
And now we have a new tack in Bobby Wine.
Yes, and it's the same challenge with him. He's learning from Besije, I think, and these past leaders.
But how do you expect this person to create some leeway when his part is literally less than 3 years and he has only been charged in only one election?
If you internalize it deeply and at length, you find that they are always fighting for the same space. Because to oust Museveni, if you are a Bobby Wine, you must have to first oust who? Besije, and become the what? The leading opposition, the kingpin.
Yes.
You see, that's the challenge. They are fighting for the same space. So you have to bicker with Besije, you have to fight Nobat Mao, you have to be involved in petty squabbles with all these, so that you can be what? You can be the leading opposition figure. That is my take home. Talking about...
But you're not offering any solution. In such a dilemma, the way you're painting the dilemma, what solution?
The solution is, I've been giving solutions.
Yes.
What unites them should be bigger than what divides them. That's what I said.
Yes.
They should compromise. That is the solution. That's the only solution.
So you're
For
saying
a coalition to work,
Let's allow him make another point, and I will come to you, Peter. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. They should be able to compromise. Besije should be able to say, they should be on a weighing scale. They say, I have this, I offer this.
But to pick it on from what he has just alluded to, we have a situation where you have the DP and NUP front two candidates in a constituency, well knowing they are against a very strong competitor in NRM. Why not start at that level and say Mr. Peter Mpaka, who is of the NUP, and Mr. Wakunda Bruce, who is of the DP, let's just choose one person.
We've done it in Soroti East. We did it in Soroti East, and it brings us
because it was a by-election. How about when
it brings us to the same dilemma? You see, the politics of Uganda. I want to say three important things. One, the opposition is weak, and weak as it is. Wait! Don't you guys don't clap your hands. Don't clap your hands because this is what I'm saying.
Unfortunately,
they have already clapped. I am saying, I think the right statement I should have said is the opposition is in the dilemma we are in. One, because of our own internal competition. We are busy fighting each other, as he has said. Two, the dilemma we are in is created by the NRM, by the government in power. And that we cannot put it aside. It is an infiltrated, it is something orchestrated and infiltrated. Even these cheats we are seeing flying around, you've asked that question and it hasn't been answered. It is just an infiltration that parties are not allowed to operate as parties. To them, if he says, let me coordinate a demonstration because of the people who are suffering in the Web Corner in that parking area, I'm telling you, he will not be allowed to operate as a party, as an opposition politician in Uganda. Number three, I would want us to borrow from Kenya. I'm just thinking of a solution. In Kenya, they have a statutory body that works on coalition of parties. Why can't government, if actually when Mumza says Museveni cannot allow alliances, it is true. Why can't he allow formulation of a constitution?
Is it within Museveni's mandate to simply create for you an opportunity to
allow?
It
is in the mandate of governance. It is in the mandate of governance. If you want opposition parties to work and work as opposition parties, we should have a statutory body that protects them. In Kenya, if ODM
but there is the National Consultative Forum.
What does it do? I wish Johnny Mugisha was here, our vice president. She would tell you they just meet for tea and photographs, and that is it.
No transport referred.
And there's no. So I'm telling you that if we want our parties to move and serve as parties, we must remove the dictatorship of President Museveni and the NRM and allow good governance to take root in Uganda.
Okay. Yes, let me get now the information from Banjezi. Yes.
Thank you so much, Banyaji. Peter Mpaka, for your own information, I've never seen any of the opposition MPs move a private member's bill in regards to that statutory requirement. It's not on the government.
But that's expecting too much. They moved a bill on electoral reforms. Up to now, you frustrated them.
No, Banyaji.
No, let's start from there.
Yeah,
you frustrated them
at least
on electoral reforms.
Not all of them. By the way, some electoral reforms were adopted from the opposition as they had proposed. And it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. If we go back in history, originally, we had a one-party system. Dr. Kawanga, the late Paul Semogere, went to court and challenged it successfully. And his success ushered in the multi-party dispensation that we are in today. Otherwise, would still be under one-party system that would maybe greatly favor us as NRM. To react on some of the things that they were talking about, Banyaji, you know, the solution is very simple. We need honest, high integrity by all leaders. Yes. Listen to me. If these guys in opposition were honest and genuine with Ugandans, they would forfeit personal interests and first promote party interests. That's what Peter Mpaka said. The intrigue in the opposition, it does not matter whether it's promoted by NRM, because the way I earlier defined for you what politics is, me, I will do what needs to be done to win more numbers in favor of NRM. And if you know, you cannot even unite on a single alternative agenda to this government in power. That's the reason as to why
people in the very past used to unite around ethnicity and religion. Since then, you've negatived that, and literally, it's so abominable to hear someone
and which
mobilizing on the pillar of religion or ethnicity.
Thank you, Banya.
Of which it is a factor globally, politically, that politicians are able to mobilize around some of these factors.
Banyaji, thank you so much. You see, when you look at the history of Uganda, way back from 1894, when Uganda became a British protectorate, the colonialists, the moment they touched base here, they promoted divide and rule. And politically, by the time we gained independence, we were not mature enough to respect some of those things. And they would result into bloodshed from time to time.
Oh, okay.
So the reason as to why it's important to avoid the politics of based on segregation of religion, tribe, ethnicity, as I wind up, Banyaji, me, I still insist, it's true. If the opposition got united genuinely, they would give us a bloody nose. Okay. Unfortunately, they will never get united genuinely because of their selfish interests.
Okay, thank you. Let me get a message from Anatoly Chihuka, who is listening in.
Yes.
A very ardent listener of the Big Set. He's saying, how much are these people committing to these alliances beyond what is in black and white? If their commitment is bigger than what they have put on the paper and free from individual pomp, the country is going to see better fruits of this alliance. These alliances should be bigger than the party principles involved, so that the intentions of the alliances are achieved. I want to thank you, sir, for contributing, and all other people that are listening in. The People's Mayor, Kache Albert, aka Albert, you're listening in. I want to say thank you so much. And I have a good friend that is listening in from Kampala, Lilian Kamdidi, who is streaming in. We want to thank you so much. And the rest of you that are listening in, I'm pretty much sure you're way too many. Let's talk for a breather when we come back into our topic of discussion. But keep the messages coming on our social media handles. We're streaming on Crooze TV. Go right on YouTube, Crooze TV, Creative Media. We are straight there. You will not stop at only hearing the voices, but you can be able to catch the visuals right there. We're stopping for a breather when we come back to the lifeline of the show and more of the conversation. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold.
abanyabulenje Rwizoba nimwebale kukola omwaka 2022 ekitumire olurembo mbalala lwabe ekyokuleeberaho abantu ku lug'ensonda zoona babasize kukolera emirimu yaabo hano hatabireho okweraliikirira okukozesa obwoko bw'esente zoona banywanyi baabwe omu by'okuhaanisa empiiha Muna Forex Bureau mbalala ne bakwendeza Christmas ennungi n'omwaka ogw'iholeere.
The world will need such a voice. Will it be your child? The public speaking program for children is back in Mbarara, a chance for your 6 to 12-year-old to be nurtured as a 21st century communicator, a collaborative learner, creative thinker, and a leader. Book now for Jan 16th to 28th at Kawaterini Kindergarten. To sign your child today, reach us on
Crooze FM, great music, great friends. The big city is on. My name is Westy Gebanyaji. Catch us. We are online very well today on cruisefm.com/stream. You'll be able to listen seamlessly. And then on YouTube and TikTok, be able to catch us on Crooze TV and Creative Media right there. Please go like, follow, and comment on all our social media handles. 91.2 CROOZE FM on Instagram and Facebook, and 912 CROOZE FM on Twitter. Go like and keep that conversation going. We put a question on our topic of discussion this morning, and we think about your position. How much can they go with the unity that they're preaching? And we're closing on the 2026 election. I don't know whether General MK with the Mhozi project, finding a very united opposition, whether they will give him the nosedive that Bright Mumsa is talking about. The people with me in studio is Bright Mumsa, Peter Mpaka, Simabanjisi, Sifa Safi, and our guest this morning, Mr. Bruce Wakunda, who is here with us. I want to appreciate all of you for taking time to join me this morning. And behind the scenes, we have the people on the camera, led by Mr. Sankara. Very much appreciated. Keep the messages coming, and I will later on give you an opportunity to join the conversation on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Let me pick about
3 points only to make them
calls that we come back to the studio and then hear your contribution. 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big set. Good morning. What's your name and where you're calling us from? Yes, Raymond, you're very corner. Yes, please. Alright, let me pick the last call for now before I get back to the panel. The big set. Crooze FM, good morning.
But Sifa Safi is like a dog. She only hunts. When time comes for sharing the meat, they will beat her with go. Let's go to the meat. People
your
power.
parting short.
3 points to make. One, fights in the opposition are smaller than the fights we see in the NRM. And therefore, nobody should inflate our fights as if those fights are going to undermine what we want to do for the people. Two, if you want to finish your position, as some of you are trying to allege, kindly attend to issues that affect Ugandans. As long as me, I can defect and join NRM, yes. But doesn't mean that the bridge of Katete has been worked on. That the people who are not going to school have gone to school. It doesn't mean that the unemployed youth have been attended to. It doesn't mean that you have reduced the tariffs of women and other things. Mr. Banyaji, political alliances, that's the point.
The very last point.
Yes, we are talking about. The evidence is on the table that political alliances work. They are good. But you cannot say that they don't have any challenges. They have challenges. Some of them have been mentioned by these colleagues of ours, and we know them also. President Museveni will not allow you to join forces with any other player unless you are only joining him.
Okay.
If you are making an alliance with President Museveni, it will be possible.
Okay.
But if you are joining an alliance with any other figure to make sure that Museveni goes away, Museveni will make it his project to fail you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bright Muhumusa. Peter Mpaka, your parting shot.
Yeah, thank you so much, WestJ, for such a lovely discussion. Thank you, dear panelists. And thank you, our dear listeners. All of you have called and sent in messages. Now, my number one point is that in the principles of good governance, let the NRM allow political parties, opposition political parties, space to operate in their activities. Being in opposition is not a crime. Does not qualify you for bullets and prisons. Let us allow these people to operate the way they should operate. Number two, let us create a statutory body that protects the interests of parties in Uganda, so that they are well guided, they are well formulated. If we are going to make alliances, let's make them. Then number three and lastly, the politics of Uganda builds individuals, builds personalities. Amasanyarazi gasigara ku personalities, so and so. So I think we should move away from that.
But globally,
build strong parties. For me, that's my parting shot. Because when you look at the Republicans versus the Democrats in the US, it clearly shows that. When you look at Chama Cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania and the other parties or in South Africa, it does that. Then lastly, the union, like our topic is a very good step. It shows the radicalism that we need in society. Zembade nsaba amasanyarazi akagere tukava ku accelerator. Tuongeremu speed, tuongeremu kasukali, urutaro kululihwa tujashware chirunga.
Okay, thank you so much, Bright. Thank you. Let me get Sifa Safi, your parting shot.
Thank you, Banyaji. I want to thank first of all
No, please.
That government is absolutely no one disputing that. Government is but what we are saying, I want to use the words of the late Bantariza Shaban. He said that power is not something you can donate. If the opposition thinks President Museveni is going to give you 100% support for you to take over, forget and sleep and dream more. Mwine kujikorera achievement yanyu mukajikorera. In other words, mutaka teka tengozo whatever so gamba whatever in Kenya no whatever. So for me the problem is
you see
going for prayers and
you see that is the chaos.
Why do you fear
that is the chaos and indiscipline?
And that's why they're not going to be leaders in this country.
She's touching.
No, please. Can I have order here?
Peter, you had your time, you misused it by giving us misinformation. So you're now into my time. Now, Banyaji, I want to tell you, the problem is the planners of these opposition parties. Maybe they don't see beyond tomorrow, if I may use that word. Do not think that taking over President Museveni is just about to join candidates.
You are terrorist.
Okay.
For example, the protocol was signed.
Don't use any word that undermines my presence here. Because I am here to protect the interest of the
Please.
Let me conclude.
No. Our time is fast spent.
Fast spent before concluding when you fail to control your people. Let me tell you, I want to conclude by saying
Sifa, thank you. Yes, Banyaji, thank you for a very good show. But honestly speaking, for once today, I'm disappointed with the whole crew, all of us as panelists.
But with him as
because
we
we have no. Listen,
Bright, can you walk out?
Parting shot.
Bright and Peter, can you walk out?
Because we have always behaved, and we must respect the moderator and the management.
Please keep quiet.
And the management of Radio Crooze. You're doing a good job, and this is one of
Thank
the
you.
best
Your
shows.
parting shot
As
is
I
done.
conclude,
But
Banyaji,
a problem with this.
opposition space, someone gave an example of Chama cha Mapinduzi because they are misinformed. Magufuli the Late had actually abolished all opposition gatherings. It's Her Excellency Suhuru that undid that government presidential directive this week.
Okay, thank you.
As I
no,
we need to learn to disagree in harmony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My guest, your parting
As
shot.
long as you're not abusing us.
No. Let's give my guest time to conclude. Don't show him a
This
lot
is
of.
okay. The problem is with this man going.
Okay.
Thank you, Vanity, for this time. We have had an interesting and informative discussion. Well, some caller said that there is no revolt ground for the opposition. But the political terrain in Africa is such. It is like going for a football match. Manchester is playing Arsenal, and you expect when the whistle goes, Man U is going to fold hands. And in this case, the referee is also participating in the match. So that argument is self-defeatist. They have failed to learn from the past. They are like French baboons. They have learned and forgotten nothing. If indeed you know for over 30 years or 20, there has not been any revolt ground, why don't you sit and devise means of getting power? So that is.
And defeat us.
We have been on the streets. Okay, we'll go to the streets.
I want
We will go to the bush.
No,
you
Engure, they have started.
You see.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies, for taking time to join me this morning.
We demonstrate you, tear gas us. We do what?
Okay. Well said. Thank you, gentlemen. My punchline this week: please keep safe and make sure that the goals that you wrote down as you start up the year, you try to work
shopping
on
center
them and will be steps. My name is Wesi Gevanyaji. Let's meet next weekend on the big set. We have news at the top of the hour, the sports roundup later, and the WhatsApp show. Catch me tomorrow night on the country show. Good morning.
I think you have started sleeping with
on this program.